Welcome to Modern Management of the Older Adult, brought to you by the Institute of Clinical Excellence.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the MMOA podcast. I'm so excited to have you guys here with me today. This time I'm not coming to you live from Puerto Rico. I'm coming to you from Littleton, Colorado, but the topic is the same. So we're talking again about the Csepe Super 7. So the collection of exercises that I have for my patients, to encourage them to have regular exercise and participate in a program where they feel confident, and they're hitting all of the necessary benchmarks to make sure that they're staying healthy and staying strong. So last time we talked about what exercises they were. Today, we're going to talk about the parameters of exercises, and the importance in encouraging behavior change for new exercises and instilling confidence. So if we can take it from the top, here's my backwards list. So the Csepe Super 7. For those listening later, we've got walking is number 1. 2, squats. 3, upper body push. 4, deadlift. 5, upper body pull. 6, lunges, and 7, sit-ups. Are these exercises all inclusive? No. Is it every exercise captured in this 7? No. Am I missing something? Probably. But my goal in having this list of 7 exercises is to decrease how hard I have to think in every treatment session and make sure that my patients are all getting a quality strength training program that they can at least get started with in anticipation of progressing their fitness later on. So again, I practice as an outpatient clinician, and the patients that I work with are all generally able to access community outpatient therapy. For the most part, they can all get up and down from the ground, but these exercises are really applicable to patients across a lot of different settings. Walking could be running. Squats could be doing sit to stand from a chair. Upper body push could be a push up on a wall, or it could be a bench press. Deadlifts could be a hip hinge or a deadlift. Upper body pull could be a pull-up or a bent over row. Lunges could be a step up. There are lots of different options for all of these different exercises, especially number 7, the sit-ups. So the goal in today's podcast is to talk about dosage for these exercises. So part of my problem with dosage is that we get a lot of mixed messages. To know how much should you be loading your older adult patients, especially when they're new exercisers. What's the standard? So I looked at the CDC, and they suggested that at least 2 days a week, you're getting strength training for older adults, but no instruction as to what exercises those should be, how many reps, how many sets, how close to RPE we're getting. So we really don't have a lot of instruction from the CDC about this. They did suggest that you should do something for balance. Nothing really specific. ACSM suggested for older adults that you should do at least 2 days. And they said that you should do 1 set of 8 to 10 exercises. Sounds like too many, according to me, the originator of the Csepe Super 7, but whatever. I'm just kidding. So they said 8 to 10 exercises, and the repetitions should be 8 to 12 for healthy older adults, and 15 or more for frail or older adults. So we've got some pretty vague instruction from those 2 public health institutions. There are lots of other exercise programming that new exercisers can do. ICE has an affiliation with Mayhem programming, used a lot in CrossFit programming, and they have the Mayhem walking program, the Mayhem minimal and body weight, but patients do have to pay for that. So I feel very confident giving my patients this group of 7 exercises and teaching them in the clinic and then teaching them how to progress. There are lots of other programs available. I'm sure that they're going to be listed in the comments of of these podcast postings. But my goal is to make sure that the patients that I treat know with certainty what they should be doing and when it's appropriate to make it more difficult. So I make it really easy. Okay, so for walking, we all know that the minimum for cardiovascular health is 150 minutes per week at an intensity where you can talk but not sing. That's the minimum. There's a benefit up to 300 minutes a week. So we've got that parameter down. But what about for walking, for exercise number 1? We've got those parameters for cardiovascular exercise. But what about exercises 2 through 7? What should the parameters of those be? How do we encourage our new exercisers to feel confident in this? So I have some suggestions. When you're having patients do new exercises in the clinic, my number 1 goal is to make them feel like winners. I want patients to be walking out of my clinic like a kid that went to Chuck E. Cheese and got one of those smacky, gluey hand stickers that sticks to stuff and is super stretchy. I want my patients to feel good about their physical abilities, to feel confident in themselves. I want them to feel like they just walked out of an amusement park. I want them to feel good about how they did in our treatment session. So when I'm teaching patients new exercises, I don't say, okay, here's the list of 7. You've got to be able to do all of them eventually, and we have to make them hard. I'll say, okay, here's a list of exercise programs that we'll get to by the end of our treatment session over the course of several weeks. And we're going to start small. My expectations of you doing these exercises at home are very low. I want you to start with a little and be successful. Then we'll build a little bit more with the goal that you'll have a great strength training program by the time that you graduate from therapy. So I already set the stage that I'm not expecting them to do all 7 over the matter of a week. So then I'll start with walking, because most of the time here with my patient population, people are already doing some sort of cardiovascular exercise outside walking. If they're not, we start really intentionally small. So I don't say you've got to do 150 minutes for it to be worth anything in the grand scheme of life. I emphasize, hey, you're doing double what you were doing last week. You're doing great. So don't focus on what patients aren't doing. Focus on what they already are. So we've got the parameters and some of the instruction down for walking. Let's talk about exercises 2 through 7. So this is going to be a little spicy. A lot of strength training coaches and strength and conditioning coaches have very specific parameters for strength training that are confusing to everybody, including me. There's no set standard for every muscle group. But the important thing for strength training is that you keep doing it over time. So for new exercisers, if we wanted to emphasize progressions in strength, we would do the 5x5 with an 85% 1 rep max. Absolutely. But for a brand new exerciser, or maybe somebody who's older, doing 5 sets of 5 might limit the equipment that they have available to them. They might not have the weight that they need to do 5x5 of an 85% of a 1 rep max for all of these moves. They might not have the access to a gym. So what do? What I like to do is to start small. Is the Csepe Super 7 for somebody who's competing nationally in a strength training program? No, this is for beginners. So we want to start it for beginners. I want all of the parameters to be the same. I want to emphasize consistency and progressive overload. If I can do those 2 things, I know as a clinician, I'm doing more than that person had from a different clinician who was treating them for the same thing, who wasn't even talking to them about strength training. So I like to emphasize this programming. 3 sets of each exercise eventually. And I like to start 10 reps, and then the last one do is as many reps as possible. And if on their last one they can do more than 15, that means it's too easy and we should make it harder. So Is this the gold standard for strength and conditioning? No. This is just a general progression to make sure that people feel confident with the exercises they can do in the clinic that makes it difficult enough that they get stronger, but easy enough that they can pragmatically do, and easy enough that they can do and feel good about it. The reason I feel confident enough to have a podcast about this topic is because my patients come back consistent with a strength training program. And for me, that's a huge win. I never had that in my practice when I was giving people tons of different exercises that were ultra specific for what they were coming to treatment for. I wanted a general strength training program. And that's a huge move in the right direction for my practice. So feel free to use the Csepe Super 7 for your patients. And again, those parameters are 3 sets, 10 repetitions for the first, 10 repetitions for the second, and then as many reps as possible on the third. And then if they can do more than 15 in that third set, then you can say, great job. This is obviously too easy for you. Let's make it a little bit tougher. So test out the Csepe Super 7, see how you feel you like it in the clinic, or maybe try some of the exercises the next time you're feeling generally uninspired at your own home workout. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the MMOA podcast. If you found this helpful, please share with someone that could benefit. And if you're looking for more practical content to help you better serve older adults, head over to www.mmoa.online, where you can learn more about our free resources, our community, continuing education courses, and our certification. Once again, that's www.mmoa.online. Thanks for listening.